All right, so I was contemplating whether or not to do a review for episode 13 or wait until 14 dropped and combine them both in one review. But man, after that episode, I was like, you know what? This deserves. It's gonna get its own video, because there was so much in this episode, and I'm not gonna lie, as much as I've enjoyed, episode 12 and a few of the other ones, like this one had some of the best fights, I think. So we got our, I guess, our Christmas form, which is like the Christmas cake roll. They're delicious, by the way. I've had one. They're good. Um, and Sachika is baking and all this other stuff, and Shoma was like, "Oh, this is cake. I've never had it before." And then, so the cool thing about it is, like, Sachika is like, "Oh, you want to make one?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Pick one," and he decided to pick one based off of a drawing in his book from his mother describing cake, and it's obviously the caking form that we're going to be getting. And I was really curious once he picked that, because I was like, this whole entire time, if you watched any of my previous reviews, the whole time, like, oh, what if Dente has something to do with the upgrade form? But now I'm thinking, oh, Shoma made his own upgrade form basically almost by mistake. The whole thematic thing of this, and I forgot to bring it up at my review of episode 12, which I recorded earlier today because I have free time, so I'm just doing a bunch of videos. The Jita, was it? Oh, I was right there. It's Jeeb, right? Is it Jeeb? Is it Sheeta and Jeeb? They left home because they were kicked out of their office, and their whole thing is they're going after basically Shoma now, and that was kind of what was going on in this episode. Of course, we got a Granite of the Week, which is someone who's posing as a musician and kidnaps someone, and that's kind of Hanto's story right now. Where there's a whole scene though, and it's a sidebar where Valen's fighting our Granite, right? And they're in a fountain, and all of a sudden, it gets the nice little filter effect, an acoustic guitar song playing, and it looks like they're splashing each other and frolicking and playing in a fountain. I thoroughly was amused and got a good chuckle and some laughter out of me. And it also led to some more lore and world building and backstory, because mid fight Valen pulls out his little sketch drawing and's like, how long have you guys been, doing this, capturing humans? And the Grand says 20 years. He's like, have you seen one like this? And the Grand escapes. I noticed with the sketch drawing and then also with the flashback of the Granite capturing his mom that you can kind of see a red strap or so around it, and there's also a red belly on it. So I'm wondering if this Granite that kidnapped his mom has some ties directly to Shoma. That's my theory right now. I don't have any real deep thoughts on it. I'm just like, okay, there's got to be some sort of connection. There has to be. It makes sense. Because then that'll bring a divide between the two. So there's a lot of funny montages of, Shoma and Sachika baking a cake, her explaining it to him, which I was thoroughly amused by. One thing I did bring up in the last couple episode reviews I've done was where's Dente, and it actually, the episode began with Shoma and Dente talking. He brings up, Hanto and the modifications, and even he's like that, it's not really possible. Why would a human be able to do an operation like that? So their theory is they think a Granu is the one that operated on Hanto. And instantly I'm like, so Suga, or whatever his name is, he's definitely an antagonist. He's definitely got to be a villain. He's got to be a Granu or something. I don't know, or some ties. It makes sense. Like, in my head, it does. I swear it does. I do like that Dante forgets things until he has snacks, and he can instantly start remembering. He also brings up, because Shoma had kind of like a image or mental issue when he saw Hanto's photo as a mother, and he brings it up too about like memory loss, and he's like, oh, it's not common. Look at me, I forget stuff all the time. So at least that seed is still planted that there's something going on there. On that, the main crutch of this episode was not crutch. The main bread and butter, the main course was Sheeta and Jeeb fighting Shoma, and we got to see the Christmas cake roll form, It's all right. I like the attack for its special move where like basically logs come out of the ground. That's really cool. But the fight was so good. Like I'm a sucker for 2v1 choreographed fights. One of my favorite fight scenes that's a 2v1 is obviously from the Raid Redemption. Like that's such a good final fight for 2v1. Like it's I put it up there as one of my favorite martial arts fights. So anytime I get a 2v1 fight, I'm enjoying it. I'm going to love the shit out of it. And I did for this. It also showed the power scaling cuz remember before when Valen was fighting Grota, like she was still like in her human disguise form and beating the brakes off of Valen. And now we got a look at the twins, their Granute form, which were wolf based, which was badass. Because we did get a flashback scene throughout the episode where we had a young Shoma, and it was the twins' birthdays, and they had cake because Shoma never had cake before, and it just builds up the dynamic and the relationship between the family because he went up to them and said happy birthday and got them flowers, and all they did was shove him down and step on the flowers. And then later on during their fight, he's even saying, what did I do to make you hate me so much? And they're just like, we want to destroy you. Like, but the whole fight, like, that's how I knew during the fight. I was like, oh, once he made the cake and earlier, and then they were fighting, I'm like, okay, we're getting this upgrade form next episode. Whether it's at the end of episode or in the beginning episode, I don't know, because we got our form montage fight where he was just cycling through all the forms, and it was really neat just to see one, the versatility of his forms and their powers, but two, how the twins are so fast, so strong, and work in tandem that they're basically able to deter everything Shoma can do. And it even ended with them basically him going back into his holiday cake form and them having a little special attack clash, which led to uh, Gavv right before the blast hits him going into his nice big bulky lollipop form and getting basically blown off the side of a cliff and dehensioning. The cool subtle thing of it though was Valen showed up and was watching the end of this fight. And it was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, up until then they've been able to beat every Granute and find a way. But now he just basically watched Shoma get his ass beat and get knocked off a cliff. It also showed, because we haven't seen any of the Stomach King family like fighting in their Granute forms, the power scaling. Because if they're kind of like lower ranking on the rung and they're this strong, it's like, okay, I can't wait to see like Longo, was it Longo, Glota, even Naive. Like, I'm curious what they're gonna do. And the cliffhanger. I was like, damn. I didn't watch the preview for next week because I was like, no, right when the cliffhanger and it did the little splash screen, I was like, done. Don't watch it. I don't want to see it. I'm gonna wait. But I did. I'm curious because like now I'm like, okay, if it's his upgrade form, and what makes his upgrade? And I was thinking, well, this is something he made, and it's also something that kind of reminds him of his mother because that's something that she drew in the book. So I'm like, and then I noticed a little subtle little crown that was drawn above it, and I was like, okay, maybe this is why it's so powerful. But it's not like you can go buy that cake constantly, so maybe it's one of those ones where you can't really sit there and use it, like eat it, have it constantly as a gochizo, which would also play into the toy that came out that showed a piece of the actual cake pops off and is the gochizo. But I'm gonna wait until the form debuts to see it and make all those speculations. Just for right now, this episode was really good. I really enjoyed it, and even Lango kind of him and Grota were talking, and he's just like, yeah, they escape. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna let them do their thing. They're going after the Red Gavv, and honestly, it gives me time to work on some stuff while they go after him. So he's still working on some things behind the scenes, and even one of the Granutes he captured, or well, that were captured because they were trying to steal the dark treats, brought him over to Naive and was like, here you go. Here's basically a new employee to experiment on. And it really shows the dark treats that, like, yeah, they're a snack in this nap, but they're kind of like a drug in this world because this person had no money. They were fiending for it to the point where they were ready to steal for it. So even little subtle scenes like that that don't take up a lot of time. I'm always curious to see the Granite world and everything that has to do with these dark treats and everything else. So that was a nice little touch to be thrown in the episode. But yeah, that's it for this episode. I can't wait for episode 14. I need to see part 2. I need to see this upgrade form. I need to see the fight with the twins. I'm curious how that dynamic's gonna how that's gonna play out, because it's like he obviously doesn't want to destroy and kill his siblings, um, and they just absolutely hate him and want to destroy him. So I'm curious where that's gonna go. But that's it for the episode. My review of the episode. Let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget the subscribe button, like button, all those other weird buttons. There's a lot of buttons on YouTube nowadays, so all that stuff. But I thank you guys for watching, and yeah, I got some other stuff I'm working on over the next couple days and into next week. If you haven't already, my podcast, which is a Nerd Name Mark podcast, I'm not doing video versions temporarily until probably next January next year. But the audio versions are available on all podcast listening platforms, especially Spotify. Go over there, check it out. I talk about movies, music, comics, all the good pop culture entertainment stuff, even toku stuff and toys. So go check that out. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.